Welcome to the Lair, a place where interesting people you may know tell you things you didn't. So grab a chair and your favorite vice and get comfortable. There are no rules in the Lair, but there is Laura Babcock. You know her from TV, and she is not into media monogamy. Let's find out who else is in the Lair.
Welcome to the Lair. We're here with Jay Higgins. I can't remember the exact first time that I met you, Jay, but I know that every time that I've met you, I've got that feeling from you, that vibe, like you got from your dad. I was saying to some of the production team here earlier who didn't know you, I said, I guarantee you he will know every guest that's going to be coming into the Lair tonight. Was I wrong?
Pretty close.
You do?
I don't have my glasses on, but...
Trust me, you're going to know everybody who comes in the door. So how did you get into business for yourself? You had the social skills. You knew how to move a room.
Well, it's one of those accidents, right? So, I mean, like anything. I mean, anyone that has that course, they think this is my course, so I'm going to follow it through. And, unless it's, your parents put you through Harvard and here's your law degree and you move on. Generally speaking, those guys end up on drugs and rehab.
Of course.
And
all
it never
those
works
drug
out anyways.
addict Harvard graduates.
I'm sensing a bit of cynicism here from you, Jay.
Well, first I thought I was going to be an athlete, so that was my course. I was going to be the big athlete and stuff like that.
Just an athlete in general? Or?
A hockey player.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was going to be the thing, and then I realized I wasn't big enough and fast enough and strong enough and all that kind of stuff. But you get your mom keeps telling you
Those
you're
are
good,
minor
right?
details.
Yeah, those tiny little things that are involved in playing hockey.
Well, there's some small guys that made it.
They can dart across the ice really fast.
I was the fastest guy though.
Yeah.
And then you give a really great clip though, after the game.
That's right. Yeah, I was a PR guy for the team. Actually, I never even laced up. Yeah.
It's better than the water boy, but I digress.
So then I got a really cool experience to go play in Europe. So I was
Wow.
17.
Oh.
So then I took off to Europe, and I went to Switzerland, which was kind
Really?
of neat. And I was like the coolest place. It was a place called Le Chaux de Fonds, where I lived, but I played for University de Neuchâtel, which was a international university. So it was really cool. Like some really great experiences. Cool
Yeah.
people.
We've both
amazing.
been, Gabby and I have both been to Switzerland,
So,
and it's a
yeah.
killer country. It's
And,
so awesome.
and where I lived on this side of the mountain was France, and then this side was Switzerland, and then
Yeah,
this
you're so close.
block was the German-speaking, Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that was the Italian stuff.
Yeah.
So, you're off to the Montreux Jazz Festival. You're off to, I mean,
man.
it was just like.
Had you ever been on the Grand Saint Bernard Pass, the one that goes up through the mountains?
Yeah.
I just said that for our producer, who hates it every time I say that word. He's got some issue with me saying Grand Saint Bernard Pass. I don't know why.
Because he can't say it.
Yeah, exactly, because you can't say it. It's the R roll, and you can't help it. So you were in Switzerland, you were playing hockey. You must have felt like the king.
Oh, I was the best, yeah. And then, of course, I got hurt because I wasn't big enough. And
You got what, sorry?
Hurt.
Oh, I think you said herpes.
No, yeah, well, probably that too. But
You're only half a beer in. What the
He
hell?
was a young man in Europe. What can
Yeah, I
you say?
know. Let's get a flow with it.
so I went to the
just had
doctors.
So you got hurt in hockey. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and just one of those things. Then you get a little, kind of you're seeing your own shadow now and stuff, and
Yeah.
that's the end of it, right? So
You lose your
nerve,
edge.
yeah.
Yeah.
and it was a back injury, so you're always like, oh, it's
Yeah.
whatever. So that was that. And then at the same time, I was playing music, which I had been playing for a while as well. My dad was a musician as well.
Really? What kind of music do you play? See, I didn't know this.
Myself or my dad?
Both.
My dad was actually quite the consummate jazz musician in the city. Yeah,
Really?
like if you can dig up some info on him, but he
What
was
was his full name?
Roger Edward Higgins. So Roger.
Roger
He was
Higgins.
French Canadian, right?
Very cool.
So he was a drummer and really smooth, like brilliant jazz drummer. That was his forte, and then he had to do the crappy stuff like play like on the Bill Long shows and the George Hamilton the Four shows like to make the money, right?
Yeah, sure.
He had to sit on that's like the country western stuff or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
like that. But that's the stuff that made the money. So he's on a bunch of the shows that CH had in the day and stuff and all that. And
How soul crushing is it for a jazz musician to play country western?
it almost doesn't get worse, really.
Yeah,
I think, you know what I mean? It would be like an artist working for a newspaper.
Yeah.
Got all shifty eyed
We'll
there.
get to that stage of your life.
Here's your editorial. You have to do it. It has to look like that, right? So, but yeah, so it's soul crushing and that. But he would.
But he
put his
handled
own-
it like a champ, paying the bills for the family, doing
Yeah,
what you
and,
gotta
I
do.
mean, he was a purchasing agent. It was his day job, so he was fine with that. And he had some. He played there. I don't know if you ever heard of Harry Walder. So he was in Harry
No.
Walder's orchestra. That was
See,
kind
I'm
of
not
his
I
full-time
wasn't
thing
born and
from
bred
there,
here,
yeah.
so.
So that was the days when if you were hoity-toity and having a wedding, you would hire Harry Walter's orchestra to play your
okay.
wedding. So my
Nice.
dad played all the mob weddings, and like, it was like
Are you
great.
suggesting there's an underworld that's
No,
alive
no,
and
no,
well in
no, no,
Hamilton?
no,
Can you
no,
drop
that's
any
what-
mob
yeah.
names?
Yeah, do you need to in the city?
But he
Just
had some
walk down
great
the street.
stories. Like, he'd be playing, a gig, and he'd get there, and then 5 guys would show up and say, "I'll carry your cases for you." It's like, oh, great, like, no, they're going through his cases. It wasn't like, oh, this is like, I'll carry your cases. Like, they want to check everything, make sure he's not concealing anything. There's no cameras, mics, guns, whatever.
Oh, because of the nature of what might go on at the wedding.
That's
and
correct,
the
yeah.
people they were protecting in the room. Interesting.
Yeah, so he had some really great stories on that side of things.
And so, did he ever see anything that was something that he shouldn't be repeating?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Anything you can share with us now that time has
let me
passed?
see here. No, some of the people are still alive.
Save the names to protect the episode. Yeah.
Well, put it this way, he would be at, the Chicken Rooster, one of those old places downtown that were kind of the cool speakeasy places of the day, whatever, and a guy he'd be sitting with a couple of other gentlemen, and somebody would come in with a roll of quarters and, like, beat the living crap out of the guy beside him.
Wow.
And my dad would be like, well, that guy just bought me lunch. Right? What did he do? Right? And then the guy would turn and say, hey, how you doing, Raj?
Nice. Those are those moments that he'd
Yeah.
try to forget that he saw what he saw.
Yeah, so, it was a rough
Was
city
every
back in
word
the day.
for his own safety?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Really? Eh? Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like cool but rough days in Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, we're so cleansed now. I mean, it's just such a wussy town, compared to what it would have been
It's
back
so
in the
nice to hear someone
40s and
call
50s.
Hamilton clean in some
Wussy?
capacity or another. Wussy part I'll leave, but the cleansed part
Oh
sounds good.
yeah. I mean, it's dirty in other ways. Don't get me going, right?
So how big of an influence on your life is your dad?
Oh, massive. I mean, it's your dad, right? And I had 2 sisters, so I don't know if anyone has sisters here that
I have 2 sisters.
older sisters. So
Yeah, 2 older actually.
Oh God,
Myself
but you're a
as well,
girl,
but a different
so,
dynamic probably. Yeah.
So it was tough because my dad was always worried that that I was going to be gay.
Yeah,
He's
because
like,
you
well,
had
you're
2
hanging
older
around all these
sisters.
girls, and my mom had.
'Cause that's how it happens, right?
Well, they didn't have the science yet, right?
If I could share a story, the producer's father was concerned that, him and his brother were too clean all the time because their mom wanted to keep them well groomed. So he brought home a big engine block from his shop where he repaired engines and told them that they had to fix this engine. I think they were like, 5 years old or something. The idea being, get grease under the nails, they won't end up gay, right? There's obviously a cause and effect between
Of
it.
course.
Yeah.
Makes
There's never
sense.
been a gay mechanic. Like, it's just never happened.
Of course not. How could you with grease? Or football player, any of these other macho things, right?
I was just trying to think of, wasn't there a certain band from the 70s and one of the guy was a mechanic? No, it was
Well, they were an Indian,
a construction worker.
construction worker. There you go, policeman. So your dad's a huge influence in your life. Cool guy, jazz musician, worked really hard. You came up, as you said, by grade 3. You knew that you could corral a big party, get people going. You went over, played hockey in Europe, had an injury. As you said, lost a bit of your edge, your mojo. How'd you end up where you are now from that?
Well, I played music quite a bit
Right.
while I was there, so that was kind of neat. When I got back home, I got a little more serious into music.
And your instrument?
Drums.
Okay, just like
I
your
wanted to be
dad.
a guitar player, but nobody would buy me a guitar. not like kids today. It's like, Dad, I want a guitar, a piano.
Why
I don't
not?
like
So
this
you used
guitar.
your dad's
So someone
drum set,
got
did
you
you?
drums instead?
Well, no, you can't. I mean, they were
Okay.
there, but you
can't touch your dad's.
Yeah. Plus, they were being used a lot. They
Right.
weren't there. So then I kind of my dad helped me a little bit to put a kit together, like broken up crap, right, and stuff like that. And I had a practice pad, which was a piece of wood with a cutout tire on top, so you got the same feel
Cool.
of the bounce, right?
Yeah.
Now you pay I think like $100 for a practice pad, which is the same thing, right?
Suckers.
But that was just a
Yeah.
piece of oh, it was an old tire, right? I don't think they were still belted back then, so it worked well.
Yeah.
And I think I actually still have it. It
Really?
has 4 nails in it, like where it was
Do you ever
nailed.
perform?
Did I?
No, do you now?
Oh man. Actually, I was asked that question this morning. The last time I played live was about a year and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are you going to play next?
Where am I
How
going?
can we
to
hear
play?
you play? I'm intrigued. Anyone who grew up learning to play with a board and a rubber tire, you've got to be a genius at
Well, I dabbled with trying to get another band together and that, but then it's just time commitments and stuff like that. And then the thing is, when you're at this age dabbling, everyone has a lot of other commitments.
Yeah.
And then the guys that are like really good musicians are like so blown out in their brains now. There's like nothing left in there.
Yeah.
They're really great musicians, but they can't even organize like what they're doing in 1 hour.
because too much
Too-
of the good life?
Well, there was too much smoke in the bars back then.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you know what's interesting on that? One of the I,
I
think,
didn't realize that cigarette smoke blew your brains out, though.
Well, yeah.
I'm missing a connection. Oh, that kind of smoke. See, it's an audio podcast.
They
You
can't
gotta-
see his eyes widening
that kind of
and
smoke. Yes, yes.
Actually, two of the guys I play with now, I think two or three, I have lung cancer now.
Really?
Yeah, because you think about this, right? You're playing in a bar, you're on the stage, so you're up high, so that's where the smoke
Yeah.
goes.
Right.
And then when you're singing, you're overtaxing your, that muscle, so you're sucking those chemicals in
Has
like
there ever been
crazy.
any studies done on?
Yeah,
Really, eh?
yeah, and that's quite
Wow.
common actually.
I would have
if you
never
look at
thought
it.
about that. I mean, the bar scene, yeah, but we
Well,
all were part of it. I never
Think
thought
about, I mean, if you're doing your job right, playing in a band, I mean, it's like playing on a football team or a hockey team. Like you're
right,
working
you're
really
sucking
hard.
in a lot of air.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're, you
Wow.
know, I mean, after a gig, it'd be like you're done. You just, you know.
So commitments in life, you've got the festivals that you run, these massive events where you
Well,
recruit
before that
people from
happened,
all
though, I
over.
was at the Spectator.
Right,
which
yes.
is a newspaper
Is
in
this where the
Hamilton.
artist had to work for a newspaper, that artistically stifling time of your life?
Exactly. So my first foray into realizing I needed an education is I was playing in the band and I finished high school. And then I thought I should go.
Props to you. I almost
thought I
did.
should go. I thought I should go to college. Right? Probably not a bad idea. So then my first foray was in business. Right?
Yeah.
Disastrous. So then I took off to England, and I had a girlfriend, and her brother was a keyboard player in a band that was pretty cool at the time called UB40.
Shut up.
Yeah,
What?
So it was so cool, right? So then now I'm hanging out with.
You were hanging out with UB40?
Yeah,
In
and-
England?
yeah.
Just for shits and giggles in the 1980s?
Sure. Well, because I dropped out of college.
Dude, I knew you were
Hey,
interesting.
Now we know why his dad was worried he was gay.
No, your dad must have been so proud of you. That
Well,
they were
no,
a great
'cause I
band,
did
or they
have-
weren't a big band at the
I
time.
had his MasterCard, actually.
So you were paying for UB40 to have a good time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it was really cool, and I got to hang out with great guys and cool guys and guys that were way more educated than me. And I thought I knew
UB40?
everything. I had the big long hair and all that stuff, right? So.
Well,
so
what year is this? I got a picture.
This would be 80.
So you had like hairband hair, like
Oh, I had
teased up.
Duran
and-
Duran, like.
Really,
just-
eh?
Yeah.
Duran
So I
Duran?
look like Nick Taylor or whatever his
Is
name.
that
No
like, is that
way.
like early
Bigger,
80s?
yeah.
I always thought Nikki Taylor was the better looking of the Duran Duran guys.
All right.
Don't you think? No, I mean, you're a good looking guy, but I always thought of Nikki Taylor as being the better looking of them. Not Simon Le Bon.
So I had the big. No.
Yeah, no, it's always Nikki Taylor. Okay.
And,
So you
and,
had
I,
his,
and I
just
realized.
got a picture.
So here's my serendipitous moment, right?
Okay.
That I knew I wasn't smart enough, and I needed some work. So we're at this place in Birmingham, Birmingham, if you.
Yes,
And
if you will.
and so we're hanging out with the guys from ELO,
No, shut
which were their
up.
buddies, right? And they're talking about Sting calls, and Sting says, "We're playing at the stadium. Do you guys
So
want to
you're
come?"
hanging out with ELO and Sting calls.
Calls the guy, right?
Nice,
And says,
okay, all
and
right.
said, "What are you guys up to tonight? I got some passes for you if you want to pop by, right?" So I'm like, I'm freaking out, right? Because I mean, like, being a drummer at the time, right? The guy who was drumming for Sting's band, Omar Hakim, was like my god, right? I love this guy. I'm thinking, oh my god, right? So anyhow, they're like fluffing it off, and I'm like trying to figure out how to be cool and beg these guys, right? So at the same time, the one guy leaves his Marseille. What did he have? Maserati, of course. Leaves it outside, double parked, and I said, "Dude, like you're gonna get a ticket." He says, "I'm exercising my decadence." I didn't know what he meant.
That's my favorite line of all time. I'm exercising my
And I'm like,
decadence.
"Hey, I don't know what you mean, man." So I came home, and I went back to college.
First, you looked up decadence in
I
the
did.
dictionary.
Yeah, because we didn't have. I couldn't go to
why'd
Google.
you come
Yeah.
home after that? After being with UB40, ELO, Sting on the phone, looking at a guy who's got a Maserati.
Because I had no money.
Okay, your dad's MasterCard ran out? Or he said, I'm a hardworking jazz musician, get your butt back home.
Right. And it was funny because I remember my mom.
Did you go to the concert though? Did you score the
yeah,
tickets?
yeah. Oh my God.
Well, don't
we were-
leave us hanging.
Oh, yeah,
dude.
backstage.
You jumped us right back to Hamilton.
Backstage,
What the
hanging
hell?
with the guys. It was
Well,
it was
tell us.
insane. Yeah.
Tell us. You can't take us all the way to the
Well,
concert.
I mean,
then.
Sting-
Well, listen, if
Sting,
this story
Sting,
gets
right?
any
I
better,
mean-
I know. What's that?
if this story gets any better, I'm gonna hit him with a roll of quarters.
You're gonna hit him in the.
With a roll of
You're
quarters.
gonna hit him with the roll.
No, I didn't
quarters,
sleep
or-
with Sting. If that's what you're I
I don't know
told
what
you.
he's getting at. This is a crazy story. So you're backstage. Did you meet Sting?
Oh yeah. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Hung out with
He
guys,
hangs.
Well,
No
They
big
hang. They're
deal,
buds.
whatever.
What are we all
Nice
getting
guy?
excited about?
He's Sting. You know, he's kind of. I'm Sting, and
So he is arrogant in spite of all the yoga and the tantric stuff?
Why, yeah. I mean,
Wouldn't you be?
I'm just asking. Guy's been married for a long time with one woman. I figured he's got some humility in there. He's a good guy
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, but I mean, that was kind of just after he left the police and stuff. He was kind of on that thing.
those
and
were big-
That was a Dream of the Blue Turtles tour.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
you can look that up and see what year it was.
So you hung well. I remember Synchronicity was like '84 or something, wasn't it? Early
That's
'80s. I remember in my
pre my
shop,
birth,
shop
so I
class.
don't know.
No, but my shop class in grade 7 had Synchronicity posters on the wall. I remember thinking, when does a high school have rock posters? I don't know. It did. So you
Because
were
he was a high school teacher, so.
yeah, well, there
Right,
may
right.
be. There's the connection. So you partied with Sting and everybody else and guys with
Okay.
Maseratis in England, then decided, gee, after living in Switzerland and England, I should go back to Hamilton and start
Because that's where it's at.
start wedding shows. What the?
Tourism Hamilton should call you up.
Exactly. Well, they jumped me to wedding shows
Okay,
from
so
that.
now I go to school and I took broadcasting.
Yeah.
And then the day I graduated was the same day CBC laid off 500 people.
Nice.
Announcement. So I thought, wow, that's going to be an easy career to get into. So
Mm-hmm.
you have guys that are, have 10 years of experience and us clowns getting out of, first year and
Yes,
stuff.
I was
Yeah.
in about the same situation back in the day.
So I had about 25 jobs, and the Spectator had an ad for telemarketing. So I
Wow.
added that to my 20. That was my 26th job, and then but you see the internal postings, right?
Oh,
So
right.
then so then a posting came
smart.
up for
Clever.
a district manager. So I took that. I had a 5-year plan, and I lasted 10 years.
Wow. So you're a strategist right from the go?
My strategy was,
Well, you had one.
yeah,
That's
I
the
wanted to
point.
be a writer.
Okay.
That was my new career.
Okay, so sorry, hockey
I wanted to play
player,
music, be a writer.
bon vivant,
Yeah.
musician, writer, and then after 10 years at Tour Star, you decided it's time to go?
Well, while that was all going down, that was when kind of the beginning of the end of newspapers as we knew it, right?
Yes.
So the one year I had 3 T4 slips, one from Quebec Corps, one from Sun Media. Well, actually that was Quebec Corps, and one from Tour Star, and then Southam, which was the original. right?
Yeah.
So 3 different publishers and all that.
Crazy.
And a good friend of mine who was touted to be the next publisher, we were playing at the Thistle Club.
Nice.
In the mornings we played
Yeah.
racquetball in the
Racquetball.
mornings. And he said, "You're okay, don't worry, this next round." I went in, he got canned.
Oh my God.
So then I'm like, there's no
That
future here.
sucks, eh? Yeah.
So then I left, went to Chapters and looked up how to start my own business. No word of a lie.
Did you not even buy the book? You just stood in the self-help
afford it.
section being like,
No entrepreneur would ever buy a book.
Amen.
They knew they can get it free.
Why would we read how to do something if we can just make shit up?
So then I'm like, okay, how do I do it? Now, my sister was a choreographer and a dancer and all that, so she was in the arts, and she was contracted by, at the time, the big wedding show, which was called Leeds Bridal Show, to do their fashion shows.
Right.
So she had to fight like tooth and nails to get all the gigs, and she did the Toronto wedding shows and all that crap, right? So then we helped her out. Then I went to the show, and I'm like, I could do this better than this, right? So then I put together a business model and all that stuff, went to her and said, okay, here's how it could work. And then I stayed at the Spec for another 3 years and moonlighted. And then I remember the moment I got caught, CH came, like they actually were in the community for once, and they came to the show.
you got caught? It's like you're some
And
007
I
secret agent.
get to work on
Well, you
Monday.
did hang out with Sting and guys with Maseratis indulging their decadence.
Touche.
So
I get to
I
work-
can't leave the CH snarky comment without untouched. They're actually in the community. What year was
Hamilton,
this?
Halton, Niagara. I mean,
What year was this?
this would have been 12 years ago.
I'm just making the point of
12,
the last
13
time you
years
saw
ago?
CH
Yeah.
trucking down.
That's right, yeah. They've actually gotten a little bit better, believe it or not.
Yeah, no,
I
think
saw
They
one
have gotten
today.
one, yeah.
I
Since they
saw
got
one
back to
today.
the CH branding, I feel
I
like
think
they're connecting
12
again.
years ago they were on TV.
Yes, you're probably right.
That was it, yeah. And actually, we had a joke that our plan was to put a cat in a tree in Oakville and then tell them that you had to come through our show to get there. And they'd cover it. Right?
So your wedding shows took off.
Yeah, so I get to work on Monday, and my boss calls me in at The Spectator. Saw you on television last night.
Oh,
Anything you want to tell me about?
no, you really were moonlighting.
I said,
weren't
you were
allowed to do
corporate
it?
sponsors. Like, I got the Spec. I said, sorry, it's a
Oh.
corporate
So what was their
sponsor.
objection? The fact that you had 2 masters, or you were scooping the advertisers?
More
from
so
column A, a little
that
from
you
column
know,
B.
this is your job here, and how much is this going to take you away from your job?
Ah, okay. Kind of an old way of looking at things, I guess.
Yeah.
Things have evolved a lot since then.
But the job was getting more complicated too,
Yeah.
and because we were downsizing, the city wasn't shrinking,
Right.
so we had more responsibilities, and
Are you glad you made the leap? on your own?
God, are you kidding me?
You can never go back. You know
I
this.
actually took my pager. We didn't have phones back then.
Yeah, no, I try to explain, but
Well,
nobody.
if I
does.
see anyone with a pager now, I assume that they're a doctor or a drug dealer.
Or they worked at the spec.
Nah, it was just or what, sir?
Oh, they worked at the spec, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they worked
And they,
at the
and they
spec,
couldn't
yeah.
get it off their belt. It was glued on. Yeah.
So it was your electronic ball and chain.
Yeah, and it was 24/7. I mean, we have to produce a new product
Yeah, for sure.
every day, right? So it was
Yeah.
a very demanding job in that too. So
So now you've got a demanding job, lots of stuff going on, but you're free.
yeah, I make the decisions and then live and die by the sword, right? So
Right.
not like my buddy who, telling me I'm okay and he walks in and gets the
Right.
axe, right? So
You know, I've said that so many times to people when we talk about the value proposition of working for yourself, as you know I do as well, have for 13 years. I had a job for about the first 5 and then on my own the whole time. And I often say, you know what, working for yourself is tough, but at least you know when the pink slip's coming. There's no surprises.
Yeah.
You know, you can predict it, you can budget it, you can.
well, if you don't open your
Right.
bills, those surprises.
But you know what I mean.
See
You
those
can
guys, yeah.
you can see around the corner when
No,
you
exactly.
run
Yeah,
business for yourself.
or else you wouldn't make it as far.
That's
I mean,
right.
You wouldn't last the first year. Right? What do they say? Like 80% fail in the first 3
Yeah,
years.
it's
or something
pretty
like
it's
that?
pretty gruesome stuff. And yet you've succeeded. You're on Food and Drink Fest. You got cool stuff going on. I watched your Twitter strategy. I thought it was pretty genius during that whole thing. What's next for Jay?
Well, I'm a partner with another company because that's one of the problems with being an entrepreneur. But this is actually really cool stuff. And this is guys that I try to do. This is actually funny too. While I was at the spec, I started another business as well. And it was called Obituaries Today.
Oh man, we could talk about all that stuff
And
on a
that
whole
was,
other
that
level.
was crazy because that was one of those moments, like really quickly, I was walking through circulation
Yeah.
and there was a customer service on the phone and she was talking to a lady and instantaneously, there was something there. The lady goes away to Florida, like how many people do, for the summer or for the
Yeah.
winter. When she gets back, she wants to get back into the community. And the comment she made to the customer service rep is, I've been away for, whatever. Can I get all, 3 months papers delivered to me? She said, because I want to go through the obits. God forbid I'm at Lime Ridge Mall and I run into Margaret and found out somebody
Wow.
died. I want to be up to speed, right? I'm like,
So your entrepreneurial mind never stops.
that's a problem.
But I think, is it a problem? Or is it
because-
a tremendous
and I think we
advantage?
talked about that when I walked in, like that singularly focused on something. Like I really envy people who just like, I'm a guitar player.
But do you though?
I do.
You really envy them?
Yeah,
I
because
don't.
because like I'd love just to really be focused on one thing.
Yeah, but if you wanted to, you would be.
I
Unless
couldn't,
you
though.
think
I don't
you've
think
got
I can.
ADD or something.
I don't think I can. Like, I mean, when I was doing this, I was doing 10 other things at the same time. Like I can't.
Yeah, but do
Yeah.
you feel like you do them all well?
Yeah. I
Do
see
you
what
have fun doing them all?
Well, okay. When I played sports, I loved playing. I didn't like practicing, right?
Right.
When playing, I actually like practicing more than playing a lot of times because it's just so repetitious, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I don't want to play the same song 500 times. I'm done, right?
So isn't the joy of your career, if you will, the diversity, the variation of it?
That's-
I always say I have professional ADD. I get bored if I do something for more than 20 minutes at a time. The fact that I do so many different things allows me to switch it up. I mean, but isn't that a great way to live?
I think so.
Yeah, so you're
But-
not
but
envious of the
again-
guy who can only do one
but-
thing,
But
are
I mean,
you really?
I don't even know how to go on vacation anymore.
Yeah, but we take weekends. More than that, it gets
That's
too
true,
boring.
yeah.
Unless you go to Europe or something where you're investigating stuff. I can't go to a beach. As someone once said to me, it's like taking a boiling pot and putting it in the freezer.
Yeah.
It cracks. You can't do that. You're either a boiling pot or you're on sort of medium.
I'm the
or-
all-inclusive, like, anti-poster boy, right? So that's like
Yeah.
the worst thing. Yeah.
But you like to party. You like to have a good time. I'll never forget World Cup when Italy won. I ran into you in a window.
I wasn't going for Italy, by the way.
I
Just for the record.
went. No, we were going for France actually, but when
That's right,
Italy won,
yeah.
we switched jerseys in the parking lot and then went to the party. I'll admit it.
Well, that's right. It's
Yeah, we ran into
the bar
it.
there, that's
We
right,
stood
yeah,
in
yeah.
some window of some Portuguese
Yeah,
restaurant.
which is now defunct.
Is it?
Yeah,
I
they
just
closed it
remember
down,
us jumping up and
unfortunately.
down like maniacs for several hours.
That was fun, yeah.
You're a fun guy. You're an incredibly interesting guy, Jay. Thanks for coming into the Lair.
thanks
I
for
found
having
out
me.
stuff
Yeah,
about
thank
you.
you.
Interesting stuff I did not know.
And
We'll
we
have
haven't
to
even
have
scratched
you
the
back.
surface. Wait till I.
Well, this is what I'm saying. If we got into you hanging out with ELO and UB40 and Sting,
And Sting.
and we didn't even get into the details, we've got to have you back in the Lair.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Chats in the Lair is a Power Group production. Visit us at powergroup.ca or laircast.com, or check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.